Hello everyone, it's me, Kirsty, obviously. I'm back and I am doing a deep dive, but probably in parts, I would imagine, because this is going to be a long one, I can see, on the Gilgo Beach murders. I've got the charts for these 4 young ladies, and I have a chart for Rex Heuermann as well. So let's get straight into it and have a look. Okay, so I was given a time for Rex Heuermann's birth. This is 6:30 in the evening, but I've done 2 charts. I've done one for the morning and one for the evening. Now, I trust the source that I got the time from, but I figured that it's probably a good idea to have a look at both. So this is 6:30 p.m. As you can see, he's got Pisces rising, 5 degrees here. He is a Virgo sun, and if you have a look at this 7th house here, he has Uranus, Pluto, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury is in Libra. So there's a giant stellium there of all those planets in the 7th house and the majority in Virgo. Straight away, I'm going to flip over to the other chart at 6 a.m. in the morning, and let's have a look at how that looks. Okay, so at 6 a.m., it flips it all the way around, and then we have Virgo on the ascendant with all those planets hanging around the 12th and in the 1st house, and Pisces on the DC. Now, I think by the end of it, we're going to be able to absolutely determine what time it is, and I'm actually going for 6:30 because I believe the person that told me. So, but it is very interesting to have a look at both of these, and I will show you why. So have a look at this, see the Virgo and the Pisces, and we've got Mars at 0 degrees of Scorpio. We have a retrograde Mercury in the 1st house. I don't really know how he talks and how he presents himself. So the more we hear from him, probably throughout a trial, I would imagine, that'll start to make sense. Whether it is this early morning makes more sense than the evening, because if he can't speak properly, if he fumbles for words or anything like that, then I would assume that it's probably this chart here. I have a feeling, and from what I've read, I don't think he fumbles with his words. I think he's a bit of a smooth talker. So again, that makes me think that the other chart is correct. But let's have a look at the victims and compare them just simply to this AC and the DC, the victim line and the perp line. This is Rex Heuermann, so not victim or perp here, but for the ones that I'm going to show you now. Okay, so you're going to see a few charts on the screen at the moment, and already you'll probably notice all of this Pisces on the ascendant. Now, let's start at this one here, Megan Waterman. So she vanished on the 6th of June 2010 at 1:30 a.m. She was last spoken to. I got all the last seen times or communication or anything that I could. I've got these last times, so these are very accurate. So we'll start with Megan Waterman. So I'll just open that up there and make it a little bit bigger. So as we can see here in Megan's chart, Pisces is rising This is not her natal chart. This is when she was last seen. Pisces is rising. The co-ruler of a missing person, the moon, is in the first house at that 29 degrees, that horrible 29 degrees. She also has her Mars at 29 degrees as well. Neptune's just about near 29 degrees. So we've got a few 29 degrees happening here. But first of all, I'm going to go through all of these just very quickly so you can see the pattern. Pisces, victim, Virgo, perpetrator. This is not the next victim, but the next lady that went missing, Maureen Barnes. I'll just make that a little bit bigger. And so she was last seen at 11:43 p.m, so completely different time. And lo and behold, we've got 29 degrees of Pisces on the ascendant and 29 degrees of Virgo on the descendant. And she's also got 29 degrees on her IC and the MC, with Pluto conjunct the MC, which is never really great in these scenarios. So I'll move along quickly. Let's have a look at all of them. This is Melissa Bartholomew. Excuse the way that I say it. She was last seen on the 12th of July 2009 at 11 p.m. Different time, different day, etc. 16 degrees Pisces rising. The moon, again, conjunct the ascendant. That's in Pisces as well. She also has her Mars at 0 degrees. And there we have Virgo on the DC, the perpetrator line, with Saturn. Saturn's an older man. I'll get into that afterwards, but that's just very obvious. You can see that very clearly. So the next lady, this is Amber Lynn Costello. Different time, different date that she went missing. And lo and behold, 14 degrees of Pisces on the ascendant, 14 degrees of Virgo on the descendant. The moon is conjunct the IC in Gemini there. She's got quite a few retrogrades, actually, I've just noticed. 0 degree Jupiter in Aries. So the thing you'll notice very obviously is that every one of the 4 victims so far, it's only so far, I don't believe for a minute that this guy has only killed 4 people. I think he's killed plenty more than 4 people. And I started to look into this case many, many years ago, and I started looking into it because of Shannon Gilbert, that went missing and then was found deceased in the marshland, pretty much close by to where the other people were found. So that's the other chart that we're going to pull up now, and that is for Shannon. Okay, so here's Shannon Gilbert. Now, it's the only chart that doesn't have Pisces on the ascendant, but this is the 4:51 a.m. 911 call. And if you know anything about the case, you'll know that things were happening way before that time, which would have actually made it a Pisces ascendant. So I might have to do a little bit of rectification there. Okay, so at 4:09 a.m, Shannon made a phone call to Michael Pack, her driver, and that was just before she started to get agitated and things started to happen. So when we take it to 4:09, we've got 26 degrees of Pisces on the ascendant and Virgo on the descendant, with Saturn sitting on top of the DC line. So obviously I'm going to dive into all of these charts and have a look, but I mean, this is a very specific time. I mean, the police were called at 4:51, but things started happening from 2 a.m. when she actually arrived at this guy's house. So 4:09 was, like I said, the phone call to her driver. And then I think about a couple of minutes after that, she started to get agitated and things started happening. So the ruler of the ascendant, so Pisces being the ascendant, the ruler of that is Jupiter and Neptune, and they're both sitting in the 12th house of hidden secrets. So something was going on in that house, and people on the outside, Michael Pack, her driver, I don't believe was aware of it. But I don't know whether they're going to link up Rex Heuermann to Shannon Gilbert. I think probably they're going to have to try and match up his DNA and all the rest of it with the other 7 victims that were found along Gilgo Beach. So I think there was 11 victims altogether. So it's going to be a long trial, a long case. Lots of detective work, lots of police work. But to me, when I open up all these charts and see Pisces and Virgo on the ascendant and descendant on every single one of them, and all of them being different times and different months, no, it's not a coincidence. No such thing. So let's have a little look further into the 4 girls. So this is Megan Waterman. Now, just looking at the perpetrator area here. So looking at this DC line, the perpetrator line, we have Saturn sitting in that 7th house just above the DC line there. And that's making an opposition to the moon at 29 degrees and Jupiter at 29 degrees. So the ruler of Megan, the victim, is right there in the 1st house at 29 degrees next to the moon, which is the co-ruler of her, at 29 degrees as well, opposing this Saturn here. So that's an interesting pattern. Now, just out of interest, Saturn actually represents architecture and architects. That's from the rulership book from Rex Bills. So if you were to look at architecture or architects, you'd see Saturn and Capricorn sitting there. So that's interesting. We'll move along. Maureen has all these 29 degrees on the angles here. Saturn's not sitting in the 7th house. Saturn's actually sitting in the 6th house and sitting right behind Venus there. And to me, when I see a planet in the 6th house that seems to represent a person that's done something, it shows that there's premeditation, that he'd planned this to happen. Obviously, he'd planned it to happen for all of these people. But I think we might find with Maureen that there could be some more we'll have to keep an eye on what happens with it. But yeah, we're going to find probably that perhaps he chose Maureen for a reason. There's a group of people, and I've had this feeling for quite a long time actually with this case, not with the side with Shannon, but with the other girls, and now Shannon, that there's probably, I'm going to hazard a guess of maybe 3 or 4 older men that something to do with it. Men with money, men with quote unquote power or feeling like they have power. So I'm going to be very curious to see what pops up next. I mean, we've already seen the police officer. I actually haven't done a lot of reading about all the things that are happening on a daily basis. I haven't been watching YouTube or anything, so this is purely just reading off the cuff. But the police officer that was, something happened with him. I'm going to have to look at that. Sorry, that's very unprofessional of me. I should know that. But, you know, there's already other people coming into this. So how are they involved? You know, Shannon Gilbert, when she went missing, the doctor, the doctor had rang her mother's house and said that he'd seen her. So I feel like he's something to do with it. And then I watched the movie called The Lost Girls, which is about Shannon Gilbert. And when I was watching that, I was like, it really started to add up as well. So the police tried to say that Shannon had was on drugs or overdosed or something like that. But she had no drugs in her system whatsoever, and she was actually strangled. And all of the girls were strangled. All of the victims were strangled. So, and not just that, the other girls also, or the family of the other girls, also had phone calls from strange people, men, after the murder of their sister or their daughter. So if you look into each one of them, you'll notice there's that pattern of this phone call. So that's what we'll have a look at as well. We'll look at the third house for communication and phone calls. What's going on with that communication? You know, why was there phone calls made? And the more I'm talking about it, the more I don't understand that Shannon Gilbert was actually strangled. Her mother did receive phone calls along with all the other victims as well. It seems crazy to me that they're not putting it together really, really quickly, actually. I think they probably don't want to admit to the fact that they did a really shitty job when when Shannon went missing. And they did really do a bad job. And we probably know why now, because the cops were shit. Okay, we're going to leave it there for now. And I just wanted to put those charts up so you could just see the very basic ascendant, descendant, Pisces, Virgo, and the Saturn and all the other things that were matching up. And then the next video I'm going to do, so I'll do part 2. There's probably going to be about 4 or 5 parts to this, I would imagine. But the next video we will do a deep dive into each one of the charts, and also Rex Heuermann's chart as well. And then we'll even go into the other victims that should be or will be being looked at some point in the future. Okay, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.